All right, everybody, what's going on? This is episode number 30 of the First and Framerates podcast. I am your host, Silent Gamer, also known as Virtual Footballer. And as usual, I have my two co-hosts with me, Bills and DJ. Before I get started with their intros, it's been a very exciting weekend for me. I just found out the gender reveal of my child that is going to be born in January. I'm having a boy. That sounds great. Yay, having a boy, whatever. But really,
Yay. Future South Carolina Gamecock there.
I'm not even gonna get mad at you, man. I'm not.
BF gonna be like that parent, that mother that threw that damn hat down and rasped her son in front of everybody.
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this with y'all. But yeah, I'm having a baby boy, so that's great. So that was the highlight of my week, obviously, and my two co-hosts, they're here. We're going to do a total review of Madden NFL 19, and we're going to just pretty much talk about other things that just come throughout the discussion. So, just going to start off with Bills. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Chilling, man, chilling. About to start getting in the studio next week again, so that's exciting. Been watching some preseason football, and obviously playing Madden, so yeah. Pretty low key.
Man, I wish I would have looked at a little bit of preseason football. I just had no interest. It's good to see.
Yeah, miss much.
Yeah, it's good to see a couple of rookies trying to get some shine, but I don't know. I love football. Don't get me wrong. It's just preseason. It's just blah to me. But anyway, DJ, what's up with you, man?
Man, nothing much. Got a new job, so I start later this month. So I'm actually leaving the current one and much better days ahead. I'm actually going to have 4-day weeks and life balance.
Well,
other than that, I did watch the Redskins preseason game, and yeah, let's say we lost one.
Oh yeah.
Well, you can cover it. You can cover that for both of us because that's my favorite team and your favorite team, and I didn't watch a snap of it. So there you go.
Yeah, I heard about Darius, guys. That sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah, but the funny part about it was Redskins Twitter falling apart over it. Like literally, like I'll talk about that later. But,
yeah, we'll get into that later. But yeah, I mean, as for
snowflakes.
As for me, and this entire week was building up to the gender reveal of the baby, and but I did get a lot of Madden gameplay in, and I fell back after the first couple of days of me talking about Madden on Twitter because it got to the point where you had just people just starting coming out the woodworks, just having their way with trying to diminish the enjoyment that people are having. So I didn't want
Misery
no part of that.
Loves company,
right? And I did not want to have no part of that. So I just stopped talking about Madden. I just started talking about stuff that I used to talk about prior to the release of Madden. But I've been playing a lot of Madden, and I'm gonna tell you, man. I said on a couple of podcasts ago, or probably the last one.
It was the last one.
Yeah, I said this game could be easily 8.5, and even with the flaws, I stand by that. I can easily. The only reason why I would not give this a 9 or higher, and I'm telling you right now, I'm giving it an 8.5. I think it's just accurate, is what it is. I think it's accurate because the only reason I won't give it a 9 because the franchise mode is just not there where it needs to be. Now, don't get me wrong, it's improved. But when you look at other franchise modes in other games, the MLBs, the shows of the world, the NBA 2Ks of the world, I mean, Madden is the longest running franchise in, out of all of these other games, and they're still behind on the franchise mode. And it's like, I'll take a point off of that. Because it could easily be a really good game. People could go and find the flaws or the problems all they want. This game has bug issues. It does not have fundamental issues. Are you going to find where a person doesn't block like they're supposed to? Yeah, you're going to find that. Are you going to find somebody miss a tackle? Yes. Are you going to find just bad logic in general? Yeah, you're gonna find that. But let's be honest, when you really compare this to a real life football game, everybody don't get everything right on the field. There's going to be mishaps. There's going to be problems. It's unfortunately that it's a video game. You expect nothing but the best, but when you're playing with the average team or below average team, or hell, even sometimes with the good teams, that right tackle or that right guard or that defensive back, it's just they're going to mess up. That's what happens in games. I mean, but when you're talking about actually playing the game and it replicates the sport, and you feel like you're playing football. As of right now, the way I feel about it, I've been playing this game for over 10 days now. Plenty of games in. I've been playing my franchise mode. This is probably the first current gen Madden that I've played that I can honestly say that it's a real full football experience. I didn't get this experience when I was playing Madden on the PS3. I mean, Madden 08 was probably like the closest. Madden 25 was probably like in that same realm. Madden 19 it surpasses all of them. So for me, I give this game an 8.5, very solid 8.5. I think the only thing that really knocks it off is the franchise mode. And sometimes the AI logic is a little bit over the top, but it's nothing for me to say I'm going to put this game down by the end of the month. I can easily say I'm going to play this game for the entire year. Long as no crazy patches come in, which, with that patch situation, that could be another topic for later on because that just dropped in my mind. But other than that, this game is very solid. I guess between y'all two, if y'all want to give y'all a score, y'all can pick who goes first. It really don't matter to me. But like I said,
DJ go.
It's a solid 8.5. It could be a 9 if the franchise mode was a tad bit better.
Okay, so if I want to go with a score right out the gate, I would honestly have to give it like a 7.5. And my reason is mostly having to do with the franchise mode. Like VF was saying, it's not quite there yet. I do like the improvements. There are subtle elements of the franchise mode that are surprising. But in the end, when you have my league just living it up,
it's killing it, man, killing it.
That's all you could do. But the most important thing is the gameplay, and I'm loving the gameplay. Prior to any patches that could possibly ruin the game or enhance the game, it still remains to be seen. RPM, don't touch that whatsoever. Do not touch RPM. Let's see. I just like what I'm seeing. I'm seeing positioning being respected. I'm seeing physics being respected. Star players are star players, especially on defense. I control the Redskins. Swearinger is being Swearinger when you have him in a situation where he's supporting a run, and he does his thing even in the passing game. Brian Kerrigan's usually causing havoc, getting to the quarterback, and Josh Norman's usually shutting down his side. Not necessarily man-to-man, but, he's a zone guy. So I like how, individuals are being respected. They could possibly do a little better with the injury presentation.
Oh my Lord.
I came across the injury presentation where I had never seen this one before, where I hurt David Johnson in the first game of the regular season against the Cardinals. I hurt him by the second play, and they showed him running into the locker room with trainers to his side. So I had never seen that before. I don't know if that animation interaction was in last year's version.
I know for certain that when you seen him running in the locker room with the trainers, that's been in since Madden 25.
Oh, that has?
Yes.
And see, just to connect that, I would think that you get that interaction, that animation, that it's a serious injury and that person may be gone not just for that game, but maybe for multiple weeks, possibly a season. But it just turned out that he was out for the game. So that kind of threw me off on how. As far as injuries are concerned in the game, they still need to work on that part. And obviously, I'm talking about the presentation aspect of it. They definitely need to make these interactions associate with the seriousness of the injury.
Right.
They also need to announce off-ball injuries as well. And me and Bill's talked about it earlier. There's no sense having to stop the game to check the medical center for an off-ball injury I'm like, you don't know what happened. I'm like, still to this day, and some people will jump all over this. To this day, All Pro Football 2K still has better off-ball injuries and announcements of those off-ball injuries.
Absolutely.
And we need to get Madden to that point as far as that's concerned. But that's primarily the only thing I'll probably mention All Pro Football 2K8 about with this year's Madden, because other than that, and y'all could at me on Twitter, it's DJ81 at Twitter, but All Pro Football 2K is virtually dead to me. So this game does a lot of things way better than All Pro Football 2K8. Like I said, you guys can at me at DJ81.
I know what you're trying. I know what you're trying to do, but I'm not gonna say nothing.
Yeah. So, but honestly, I don't play Ultimate Team, so you won't hear from me about that. I've never been suckered into anything related to Ultimate Team to play Ultimate Team. I know there was Draft Champions that was out there.
That was a good. I'll be honest with you, like no joke. If you're not paying attention, and like for me, I didn't. At that time, CFM was not working. That game, it was actually broken in Madden at the time.
Yep, I remember that.
And so I went in and played the mode because there was nothing else to play. That whole segue from Draft Champions to MUT was like a very seamless transition. Anybody can get suckered into that.
Yeah, that was like fishing. Like they literally had good bait on there, and like unfortunately you took it and they set it up with a broken franchise mode at that time. So I'm like, and trust me, I wasn't taking a shot at you. I just know that's what it was.
Right.
And when you told me about it, I was like, damn.
Yeah.
They really trying to get people.
Yeah, because Draft Champions, I mean, is an excellent mode, don't get me wrong, but like when you jump in and at the end, they'd be like, hey, we're going to give you this, play Ultimate Team, and you can start up your team, and you're like looking around like, well, I want to play CFM, but CFM's not working. Well, let me just go ahead and press this button. Once you press that button, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it played out, but so what's your final your number score for Madden?
Oh, I said it at the beginning, 7.5.
Oh yeah, you did. I got it right here because I'm trying to do an average. So yeah. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Oh, one more thing I would like to add, and that's the running game, because obviously that's the thing that everyone's been debating about, CPU, human, whatnot. I'm gonna put it out there. I know with one of the recent patches, they nerfed how many juke moves or how many one-cut moves the CPU does, so they run more straightforward. There's still instances of too many cuts, but then in real life, you do have running backs that make too many cuts and get caught from behind. So it's almost like, okay, where do you factor in running backs and their ball carrier vision causing these one-cut moves? Bills, I'm sure you're going to talk about this because you and I have talked about this, is awareness being tied into certain aspects of that. So,
before Bills start, and I mean, I think awareness could do something, have something to do with it, because I haven't really I haven't went into the sliders like Bills have. Bills is the one that's on the podcast that actually went into the sliders. For me, I think it's RPM just is actually doing its work, because like sometimes when I run the ball, if I use that left stick and if I slightly move it, I will do what the CPU is doing. I think that the AI is in a good space. I think they know what they're doing, but when they're trying to make a move, the actual mechanism of real player movement makes them do that animation. I don't think it's the AI just being dumb and saying, "Oh, I'm just going to do this." They're actually saying, okay, if I take this angle upfield, I'm going to get more yards, but the actual mechanism of RPM takes over, cause them to do a funky animation instead of just going upfield. That's the way I look at it. I don't know because I haven't touched the sliders, but it's just based on me, what I do sometimes when I run the ball. I notice that I will do it's kind of like a NBA 2K 12 or NBA 2K13 type mechanism where they over animate. That's the feeling that I get when I do it on a user. I don't know if the CPU is doing the same thing, but the results look very similar.
it's almost like you have to ask that question because when I talked about awareness, as far as that's concerned, would you say that if you weren't aware of certain aspects while you were running the ball, you wouldn't have made that move?
Right. See, that's it could go both ways. It could be bad awareness, but I know, like with me, I'm playing the game. I see what's going on the field. I know there's nobody in front of me. But if I try to make that extra cut instead of running towards the sideline and try to make that cut to run straight up field, sometimes he would do a big one cut move where it's like he's run damn near sideways. It's like the intentions are there to go straight up field, but the RPM animation just takes over where he makes a overcompensated animation. That's what I get from the user. I can't say if the CPU's doing the same thing, but it looks very similar.
All right, Bills.
All right, so a lot of people are going to think that this was pre-orchestrated or planned, but I pretty much am giving it the same score as both DJ and VF, which was a 7.5.
Well, I gave it 8.5.
I thought you gave it some.
No, he gave it 8.5.
All right.
Hey, were you asleep?
No, I wasn't asleep. I was taking notes. I just forgot. I thought he gave it a 7.5. Nah, he gave it 8.5. But I could have given this game much lower. I'm being a bit generous. This game's AI is broken, and the only way you can dig in and see that the game's AI is broken is to go into the ratings. The reason I could give this game much lower is because it's kind of an indictment on the person doing the ratings that clearly does not understand what his ratings do.
Shooter McGavin.
Yep.
Shooter.
We're talking about you, Shooter. You don't understand clearly what the ratings are doing to these players in the game, how they translate to sliders, et cetera, because quite frankly, to me, and I know a lot of other people have had the same problem just by going on Twitter, AI run blocking, AI ball carriers, and AI quarterback logic when they're rolling out of the pocket were all broken. Until I went into my roster and made a roster. I mean, you have running backs that are doing juke moves on air. There isn't a defender within 5-10 yards of them. They're doing juke moves. It's not even so much the RPM. They're doing literal juke moves as if they're pressing on the right stick the way a user would. You have.
I've noticed that too. I have noticed that as well.
I mean, you have blockers who. I know a lot of people complain about the block sheds from a user perspective, but I've used teams who don't have really good guys as far as block shedding, and they were still shedding some great offensive lines in the league, like the Cowboys. So that was an issue. Then when you put into the fact that quarterbacks, when they roll out of the pocket, seem to love throwing the ball across their body 60 yards downfield, then that's when I said, fuck this, I'm going to make a roster because clearly this shit ain't going to get fixed.
Now, you know what? You know one thing I noticed? I didn't mean to cut you off, but when people do that on the user, they get penalized, but the CPU does it and is like pinpoint perfect. Have you noticed that?
And I'm gonna yep. And
if you try to throw the ball across your body as a user, that ball is going nowhere. But when the CPU does it,
or a duck, or
but when the CPU does it, it's like pinpoint accuracy.
So the first thing that I will say is that all Madden, for everybody who was talking about how great all Madden played, all Madden is much more balanced than it's been any other year. That being said, it is still not the default skill level to play on this year. I went into the sliders and I basically played around with the sliders for the entire last 10 hours that I had on EA Access, and what I found was that these quarterbacks on all Madden are going to throw the ball across their body regardless. It doesn't matter if they see a straight line path to get a first down scrambling, they're still going to throw the ball across their body. And what it comes down to is the awareness rating for these quarterbacks. So when I put the awareness rating down below an 80, all of a sudden these quarterbacks were less aware of these receivers that were breaking open downfield. So that's where the awareness ties in for the quarterbacks. The more aware they are, if they have a 99 awareness, anytime somebody breaks open downfield, they're going to throw the ball across their body, no matter which position their body is in, across their body to the left, across their body to the right, doesn't matter. They're going to throw the ball across their body, and they're going to make just a really dumb throw.
Now, let me jump in on that because I'm going to give everybody context of a feature that used to be in Madden, and I want everybody to think about that as Bill's just put it out there. think of the vision cone. Think about how awareness was tied to how big the vision cone was.
Definitely.
And what you could do with a big vision cone versus a narrow vision cone. Again, that was tied to awareness.
Yep. So, me and
Why,
DJ.
why don't that come back into the game? What's the
It's
big
hardwired into the game. There's no. I firmly
You think
believe
so?
that
It's in
100%
the
yes.
game. It's in the
Because
game.
why does their head turn? I know that's a cosmetic thing in the game right now, but if quarterbacks are throwing across their body and hitting people from way across the field, it has to be something tied in with awareness, and the only way you could possibly pull something off like that is if there's a hidden vision cone, because you have the tackle cone that's associated with people's tackle ratings if you turn the visual stuff on. So
I will go
I think
as far as saying,
that's very interesting.
I will go as far as saying that the awareness is literally the vision cone under the hood.
Wow.
Because, and this is why I say this. Okay, so as a lot of you may know, when I work on my sliders, I go to practice mode. So when I went to practice mode, I was picking. First thing I did before I did that, I went to the ratings for every quarterback, and I went to the traits, and I adjusted the traits. Because some quarterbacks had it set where they don't throw the ball away, which is an issue. If you have it set where you don't throw the ball away, then you're obviously going to do that a lot more than a quarterback that does have it set to throw the ball away. So that's the first thing I did. I made sure everybody had it set so they throw the ball away. Okay, so that was handled. So I figured, okay, problem solved, right? I go into practice mode. Tom Brady's throwing a ball across his body damn near the sideline. That's an issue. So I looked at the awareness and I said, okay, let me try something. I'm going to put the awareness down to like 70 something. I think I put it down to like 75 for Deshaun Watson. So I put it down to 75 for Deshaun Watson. All of a sudden I get into practice mode and he's taking off scrambling. He's not trying to throw across his body. He's trying to get as many yards as possible and get out of bounds. I said, wow, really? So that's what the awareness means for the quarterback. So then what I did was I put down the awareness for every quarterback. And this may sound crazy. A lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about is going to sound crazy. I put the awareness for every single quarterback down below 80. The difference I saw in the logic of the throws they were making was jarring. They were not throwing the ball across their body. They were finding the quickest path to get out of the pocket and either make a good throw the ball away, or take off and get as many yards as possible. For the running backs, I put everybody's spin move and juke move down. All of a sudden, they stopped doing the spins and the jukes in space. So when I look at this and I see a person like Shooter McGavin, who is literally hired to put the ratings in for this game to all these players, how do you not realize that your game plays like this when it comes out? And if you do realize it, then is it that you just are scared that people will complain because Carson Wentz has an 85 but still plays like Carson Wentz? Is it that people will complain that Tom Brady's a 93 but he still plays like Tom Brady? He's just not a 93 because he's just not a 99 because I put his awareness down.
I mean, in other words, like, people are just so infatuated with the numbers. They
That's
just
exactly
put the
what it is.
That overall number,
That
yeah.
overall number is that they put the overall number out there, not even taking into consideration how they're actually going to play in the game.
I had my friend Jomar personally try these ratings and these sliders when I sent them to him, or not sent them to him, but upload them and told him to download them. And when he saw that Matt Ryan was an 83, he went off. I said, bro, play the game against the Falcons and let me know what you see. Matt Ryan went like 21 for 29, 200-something yards, same shit, different day. Typical Matt Ryan. So people need to get off these tangible ratings. These, why is he not a 98? Why is he not a 99? Why is he not a 95?
But, I mean, at the end of the day, they done turned this whole rating thing into a big conglomerate where it's just out of control. Yeah, it's out of control because a 95. I mean, but we've been saying this forever. I know DJ's been around. We've been talking about this forever.
Of course.
I never understood what is a 93 throwing power. It's either he can throw or he can't.
Yep.
And, I don't know what is an 86 run blocking. What
hold on.
It's either he can run block or he can't.
Well, hold on. So there's another element to this. There's another element to this, though. So this you got to stay with me. There's another element to this. The last element is the run blocking ratings. So if you go to the Carolina Panthers have the worst run blocking ratings, the worst blocking ratings, period, in the league. So can any of y'all tell me a starter that you've seen play in the league that would have a 60 in pass blocking or run blocking?
Oh goodness.
No.
A 60? No, right?
No.
Explain to me why every Panthers starter had a 60 in run blocking.
Jesus
Man, that's
Christ.
crazy.
Every single one of them
And
had 60s in run blocking.
And
People
that's,
wonder, yeah.
and that's funny because Carolina in real life, they run the ball.
Ryan
They run it down
Khalil,
people's throats.
Ryan Khalil and Matt Khalil are both on that team, and they both are rated in the 70s.
That's crazy.
They're two of the best linemen in the league. How does stuff like this get past Shooter McGavin? Okay, so what I did
Well,
was...
how does it get past him? It doesn't get past him. He's the one put him there.
Exactly. So this is the point. So I got to all these ratings, and what I basically did was I put every single lineman run blocking up to about at least 80, 81. So nobody had a run blocking rating below that. Now, the two blocking ratings that they have besides that are run blocking finesse and run blocking power. I didn't touch those. If that's in your DNA, if you're a better power blocker or a better finesse blocker, I'm not touching that. I'm worried about you identifying a target that is right in front of you and blocking them. That's what I'm worried about. So when I did that, all of a sudden they were holding their blocks. So when you put together that they're holding their blocks, the running backs aren't making stupid moves anymore, and the quarterbacks are making intelligent plays outside the pocket, now you got a football game. So that's why it's getting a 7.5. Because how do you release a game with the trenches on the CPU side? I mean, how do I have a CPU player run 14 times and he has -5 yards in 15-minute quarters?
So
That's ridiculous.
So do you think that people said they had a problem with running the ball? You think this has something to do with it?
The people that had a problem running the ball themselves, they need to learn how to play the game. The people who had a problem with the CPU running the ball, they had a valid point.
Okay.
I at no point had any issue running the ball. I mean, if you pick a team that has horrible run blocking, if you put your slider up on your side, the user side, you'll be fine. But even if you put the sliders up on the CPU side, you can put up to 100, you can put up to 98, 99, doesn't matter. They were not going to pick the right hole to run through. They were not going to stop juking in space. That's something that they weren't going to stop, so there was nothing to fix that. That's why I called it broken. So, all that being said, that warrants a 7.5 to me, and it honestly could be lower if you think about it. And then of course you add the warping, the suction that wasn't even in the beta, for Christ's sakes, barely. It seems like it's ramped up in the final game. I don't know why. And the fact that AI subs in the preseason are still broken to a certain extent. Yeah. Oh, and injuries still broken in the preseason, by the way.
No,
So,
that's a serious issue. The injuries, I can't get over this. Now the warping and the suction, that's it's, to me, it's so small that it's like it doesn't even go onto the scale of the rating that I gave it, because I rarely see it. Is it there? Yeah, like we talked before, we can see it because we've been playing it for a long time. We've been playing Madden for a long time, but this type of suction and warping doesn't necessarily hinder gameplay like past matches, because we saw some. You can go back 3-4 years ago, it was just horrible.
Nah, it was. Yeah,
because I haven't seen that, like in my gameplays, I haven't seen that much. Like,
yeah, I mean, you could tell.
here and there.
Like I said, you could tell it's there, but it's not nothing overbearing like it was before.
I would say the one issue, the main issue with the warping, not really warping, but more so speed burst. The issue was I'll have a receiver open, and I'll judge how far my receiver is ahead, and then the CPU will get a speed burst, or even my guy will get a speed burst.
Okay.
And that was the issue that I saw, is like it's kind of compromising the passing game. It hasn't happened in a run game for me where it actually would affect the play. But I think in coverage that kind of compromises things when you have guys speeding up, and it's not like it used to be where they would literally zoom up and slide up, like it literally would slide into an animation. It's not like that. It's a subtle speed burst that I've noticed.
Yeah, cause see with me, I noticed it when the tackling comes up, when they're trying to tackle. I see them shifting the tackle, but like I said, they're going to tackle them anyway because it's like they're like a yard apart, and then you'll see it. Yeah. It's not like how it was like in other Maddens where they were like 3, maybe sometimes 5 yards apart. It was like really bad in certain Maddens back in the day. They cleaned that up now with the passing game. I've seen some guys like shift in place to catch the football, but once again, it's nothing that just was eye popping that was out there. Like we can go back to Madden 16.
No, it's not game breaking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's there, and I'll be the first to admit it's in the game, but it's so minuscule to the point where I don't even knock the game for having it because it's not that bad. Now, Madden 16 and sometimes in Madden 7, especially Madden 16. You can see the 2-man animations where you literally saw DBs like float to the wide receiver
catches, man.
Yeah, it always happened when you did an aggressive catch and you had the DB trying to swat the ball or they were playing the ball. When you had an aggressive catch and they're playing the ball, you literally had the guys meshed together to show off an animation.
And you're talking 2 or 3 yards of separation.
Yeah, it was really bad back then. So, I mean, it's there. If people want to take a point off for that, they want to knock the game for that, I get it because there's no denying that it's there. But it's nothing to say like, oh man, this would have happened if that wouldn't have happened. It was going to happen regardless. They just kind of like sped it up. So,
and the way to solve it, I've found is if you put your quarterback accuracy and put the CPU's quarterback accuracy up, it pretty much solves it anyway. Yeah. So, you know.
What do y'all think about the ball tangibility of this game? The ball tangibility is like really, really, really good. Now,
I would say for a football game, I would say this is the highest percentage that I've ever seen. As far as the ball being tangible, the highest percentage.
I'm gonna have to agree on that one too. Because I've been on the end of a couple of knockouts here and there.
Yeah, I just posted one on Twitter last night where the guy
with the helmet, right?
Yeah, the guy. I mean, he tried to protect the ball because he was getting hit. So he protected the ball by putting the ball over the defensive guy's head, and the ball came out because it hit his shoulder, his helmet in his shoulder, and the ball came out. Like, you don't see stuff like that. Back in the day, his whole arm would go through the guy's body, and he'll still have the ball in his possession.
I had a pick happen where the ball bounced off of the guy's leg. And
that's 2K5 type stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it bounced off of his leg, and you know how they had the tip drills like a couple years ago that would have the ball seem like it was tethered, and it would go like straight up in the air, or it would go like straight to somebody. Now these tip drills are legit. Like, if they happen, somebody has to be in the area. It's not morphing in anybody's hand. It's really
one thing I could say: the ball is a little floaty when the ball goes in the air.
Yeah,
I do notice that.
I do notice that too.
Yeah,
I got a question. I want to actually go back to the injury aspect that VF you mentioned earlier.
I got 4 guys with abdominal tears.
Okay. Let's see. Is it the frequency of the injuries, or is it, like you just mentioned, just the injury variety is not?
The frequency of the injuries don't bother me because, don't get me wrong, this Madden 19 has some very, very good hits. You can hit a person and knock the ball loose if you hit them right. You can knock them, you can put them on the ass if you hit them right. So if there's an injury like, they got a stinger, or if they hurt their hand, or they got a bruised leg, they'll be back later on.
We know we ain't gonna get any concussions.
I'm not even bringing that up because we already know that. So you know that they got like a bruised shoulder will return after the first quarter or something.
That injury,
it's like us then.
You see, I don't mind that, but it's like with these hits. It's like out for the game, out for 4 weeks, and it'd be like abdominal tear.
It's not making sense with the injury.
Right. I don't mind if 3 or 4 of my guys get put out the game for like a quarter or a couple plays because they got rocked. I don't have a problem with that. But when you have the same injury when somebody gets a wrap-up tackle and all of a sudden they got a shoulder injury and they're out for 4 weeks, That's a problem.
And that's where it goes into what me and DJ talked about, and DJ actually hit me to this. Basically, the injury slider is the injury severity slider as
Okay.
well.
I'm starting to believe that.
That's what I started noticing because I know a lot of people complain about the number and the length of injuries
Yeah.
initially, and when you go into franchise, there's a difference between the franchise default injury slider versus the play now. Play now is set to 10
What?
versus the injury slider is set to 10 by default for play now. You go into franchise, it's up at like 40 and 50.
That makes a lot of sense now.
So associated with the fact that the injury slider is low, you'll get a lot of out for the game, may return soon. Like I put mine for franchise, I put it up at 20, and I just had 2 injuries happen in the first game against the Cardinals, which I stole on the road, the comeback victory, where Chris Thompson was out with a bruised shoulder, but he would return shortly, and then I lost Dunbar for the game with a broken finger.
Okay.
So,
that I get that because those are like small injuries. Players in football, they get hurt all the time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, getting hurt in football is that you're going to play a season where you're hurt damn near all the time. But the problem I have is when you're injured. Players are getting straight up injured, knocked out of the game at a high rate. That's a problem.
Now, here's the other problem that Madden needs to remedy real quick, and that is the injury statuses. You need to add questionable, doubtful, or day-to-day.
And that should have been in there years ago, man.
And the reason why you should have the injury slider low by default in the franchise is because, a lot of players get hurt. Those injury lists grow big time from the preseason, regular season, and whatnot. But a lot of those injury lists will show people as day-to-day, questionable.
And that's nothing
you got like a lot of did not practice type.
That's realistic. I have no problem with that. The problem I have when people are out for weeks over the same type of injury, or the severity is like way how you have 5 people out for weeks at a time. That's the problem.
Yeah, because there's no simulation. There's no simulation as far as having a team that's banged up towards the end of the season. You just got motherfuckers flat out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And that's the issue. And like DJ said, with the adding the injury statuses, it should have been in there, years ago, because that is an element of strategy too, if you really think about it. If the guy's a game time decision, you don't know whether he's going to play or not.
I don't understand this. PS2 Madden had this perfectly. I mean, they did this better than the 2K football games. You had, and it would tell you in the instruction manual, something that we don't get anymore. They'll tell you in the instruction manual.
It's available digitally, just to let everybody know.
Yeah, that's true. It is available digitally. But when you actually have the manual, you will see like it'll be like probable be 25%. You could put them in the game, but clearly their ratings will be down. Like questionable is 50-50. Doubtful is 75%. They're not they're doubtful that they'll play. 100% they're out. And I ain't gonna say 100%. Out means 100%. But that's how it was in the PS2 Madden. It was on a scale of 0% and it went to 25% scales. So when they were probable, you could put them in the game, but they'll probably end up getting hurt again. That's how advanced it was back on PS2 and the original Xbox. It's like they kind of got away from that. Now it's like you said, they need to have that scale. It needs to come back again to where that's the standard. Even if it is just that basic, that will go a long way when you're playing your franchise mode.
Now, just to be fair, they don't have outright probable status. When your players do get hurt, if they are available to return, you can have them return early. That's been in the past few Maddens with the chance of re-injuring, and they'll let you know if there's a low risk, a medium, and a high.
Yeah, that is true.
Overall, the injury system needs to be redone, and the basis for it is that they need to have it as a wear and tear down type of system. Like 2K has it, and you see these injuries mount up based on what part of the body gets worn down the most or it gets impacted the most. And football is definitely that way. I'm like, you have your impact injuries, a lot of breaks, a lot of concussions and stuff like that. Obviously, Madden's not going to do concussions. But when you have tears, uh, you have ligaments that are torn and stuff like that. That's basically that's a combination of impact and overall wear and tear.
Yeah,
So
I'm saying I'm trying to figure out how somebody gets an abdominal tear after getting hit one time.
it could happen.
Yeah, it can, but
It can, but some of the hit. But I see what you're saying. Like the hits that like somebody get hit in the head, all of a sudden their abdominal tear.
Yeah, or
that
they
doesn't make any sense.
or they have a wrap up tackle and they have a tricep torn or something like that.
And that's something that they need to take from FIFA, because in FIFA, when somebody's leg curls up under them, you can tell what they hurt immediately. So
APF did this very well.
APF had it too.
Yeah, APF did.
2K has it.
That
2K, you get
like
hit
APF,
in the face. Yeah.
That's one thing about APF. Their injury system was really good. I mean, I remember. I remember one time that a kneecap was hit in All Pro where a guy tried to block a defensive back. So what he did, he went down low and hit the guy's kneecap. He was fine for the rest of that play, but the next play, that knee started to bother him, and he ended up falling down in the middle of the next play. That was on 360. That's some PS5 shit right there.
And once again,
you know what I'm saying?
And this is shit that they've had in Madden, because there'd be a guy, if he tore his hamstring or hurt his leg, you see him limping upfield and he'd hold his leg.
See, not even trying to compare it to 2K. Yeah. Madden had this type of stuff.
That's what's egregious.
You know, it's like I remember that, like, he tore his hamstring and he was. I mean, they done made it a meme on Twitter where somebody made it a meme where it was a Green Bay Packer was running the ball, and he was hobbling because he tore his hamstring, but he still made the touchdown. Now, it's debatable.
I remember that.
It's still debatable if he still should have been fast enough to run for a touchdown.
Yeah, he was running 100 miles per hour.
Yeah, but the main thing about it is the animation is in the code. It's in the code of Madden, and you can't tell me that it's not there, because even though Madden 19 has advanced in how well it plays, this game is still based off the Madden 06 code from 360. There's no denying about that. It's still the same code. So it's in there. They just don't use it. And it's kind of weird that it's not there. I mean, at the end of the day, we're looking at a situation where this game easily, and I'm pretty sure both of y'all could attest to this game could easily be on the tier of NHL as far as hockey goes. It could be up there on the tier of NBA 2K. I'm just talking about Madden 19.
Yeah.
It could be on the tier of those two great sports titles. But the fundamentals are there. It's just the bugs are holding the game back. And I think that's basically where we're at with Madden 19. It's not the fundamentals. It's not the mechanics of the game. It's just the bugs that you have people at EA that are, like you said, with Shooter McAdam with the ratings. You have people who just can't get the game down right, just like how the other teams of NHL or FIFA or PES or MLB The Show, they got their mechanics down to where the bugs aren't impacting the game. Are they there? I'm pretty sure there are bugs in those games, but nothing like how it is in Madden.
And just to go back to the quarterback scrambling for a second, I really don't get where this problem came from, because this shit's been going on for 3 years now?
I would say 4, because I remember when they brought in Cam Newton to make sure his player played right, and I thought QBAI was going to be the thing.
The scrambling was the scrambling was at its best in Madden 25.
Yeah, there was no issue. They had the logic. Once they fixed it, they fixed it.
Because you got to think about it. Madden 25 was the time when they were actually pushing the pistol offense.
Yeah.
So Madden 25, that's where it was, and ever since then, it's just been going back, regressing ever since.
And DJ alluded to it last year. They get stuck in this in between scramble and passing. They can't make a decision.
Damn, double click and you're scrambling to single click and you're moving. You're mobile at that point. They need to get rid. They honestly need to get rid of that.
Whatever happened to scrambling? We just hold down the R2 button or the
That's
R2.
what I'm talking.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think it should be sensitive to the left analog stick. I don't think it should be holding down a button, because that you can free the right trigger button or the R2 button for something else.
You think so? I think
I
the R
think so.
I think the R2 is more ideal because the R2 or the right trigger is the more. That's the button you use to sprint.
I think
So that's why I think it'd be more ideal. But either way,
I
because
think
that mechanic used to be there when you had to click before, right?
that's what I'm saying. I think once you click a button, it should be scrambling. You click the button back, you can pass. You shouldn't be able to have it both ways. And it's an easy way to prevent a lot of those legal forward pass, because I'll get to the line of scrimmage and I'll want to juke a guy that's in front of me and I'll end up throwing the damn ball.
So in other words, you would want, instead of it being 2 clicks to the scramble, it would be just, you eliminate the scrambling aspect, because a lot of quarterbacks tend, like even the scramblers, they tend to want to keep their head down the field. They kind of like are passer ready until they cross the line of scrimmage. That's when the scrambling should take place versus like the mobile mode that first click puts you in.
And I think that's the issue, is the animation that you get with turbo versus the regular left stick. That should be the difference. If you're just using the left stick, you should be in that mode, but as soon as you press R2, I don't think you should be able to pass.
Okay, now I get it. Already being mobile mode, not pocket mode.
Exactly.
Because you start out in pocket mode.
Exactly.
And then it's like click 1, mobile mode. Click 2, scramble. Click again, click back to it. It's,
right.
Yeah.
So that's saying, as soon as you get out of the pocket, if you get a certain, the tackle box that they always talk about. Once you get out of the tackle box, you should get that animation. And then if you press R2, then you take off. That
makes sense.
That will fix a lot of this, because these quarterbacks, what they do is, these AI quarterbacks, they get stuck in that mobile mode that DJ's calling it, and they have both hands on the ball, and even when they get to the last second before they take off, they still look like they're gonna pass it. So half the time it's like what. So the thing is, when they're in that mobile mode, sometimes they don't detect defenders coming at them, because they'll run into a defender. It's like they don't detect. They need to fix that. They need to fix that, because Russell Wilson,
I totally understand that.
Yeah, it's like Russell Wilson isn't dangerous if you know when he's going to take off and when he's not going to take off. You can tell when he's going to take off and when he's not going to take off. That's the issue. So they need to fix that, because I mean, in this generation of the Marcus Mariotas and the Deshaun Watsons and now the Lamar Jacksons, and you need to have that element in the game where you don't know whether the CPU is going to take off or not. When they get in that little 2-hand on the football and rolling out of the pocket, you already can tell what they're going to do. So they seriously need to fix that. A quarterback needs to make a decision whether he's going to scramble or he's going to pass. Don't run up to a defender with both hands on the ball and you're sitting there acting like you're about to pass. It just looks bad and it plays bad. So
now here's one concern I do have, and that's between the different versions of Madden, between the console version and the PC version. And I don't know, like, for people listening on this podcast, y'all can comment down below if y'all have both versions and have seen this difference. But the fact that last time I played the PC version, which was probably like maybe a few days ago, you could still motion freely, not the ones that are built in the play call, but motion freely on the PC version versus the console version. I would like to, and if any Madden developers are listening, I would like to know what's up with that. Why?
Yeah.
Because I remember it was a problem a few years ago, and you made it, and you took out the manual motion because you wanted to get rid of the cheese aspect of it, because people were using it to get unfair advantages on route separation and stuff like that. But if it's in the PC version, then why can't the console version have it back? And at least with RPM, it makes it possible that you can't cheese it, because RPM makes it more accountable for these footsteps that players are taking. I see it in the motion that they turn, they run, they don't slide when they motion. So
right. Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's something that needs to be addressed.
And just to touch on RPM, another point about that, I would say RPM in the future, I don't know what they have planned. What I hope they would have planned is signature animations at some point. But what they need to have next year, and I mean next year, as in Madden 20 or whatever y'all going to call it, y'all need to have the quarterback's proper footwork when he's rolling out of the pocket, when he's throwing downfield, et cetera, et cetera. Because that hasn't been in Madden in a while.
I'll be surprised that they'll put that in. I don't think that's going to be it.
It would be no different than RPM this year. People would bitch about it, but they'd have to get used to it.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I'm with you, but I'm just saying I can't say if it was what's the word? It might be a little bit too ambitious.
I don't,
you know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it is.
I think they need to rethink putting back. I think they need to put back in QB evade somewhere. Because
I was
coming out of
surprised.
because coming out of those, like if I run a play action or a rollout, sometimes I'll have a defender in my face, and I just want to quickly step up. Yep. That was a good thing to have when it was there, and they took it out. It's just like, damn.
Yeah, I just noticed that wasn't in the game. I know. I just realized that's not in the game.
And when you put in a break sack rating, and people are wondering why so many quarterbacks are literally breaking off sacks, not evading them, but breaking off sacks, like throwing defensive tackles to the floor, to the grass. Like, they need to bring that back because quarterbacks aren't stiff-arming defensive tackles to the ground that are running right at them. So sometimes it's a step to the left, it's a step to the right, it's a step back, it's a step forward, it's a spin. We've seen quarterbacks spin out of the pocket before. So, yes, add that back.
It's a perfect time. With RPM in the game, it's a perfect time to bring it back.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I just don't get it. I think at the end of the day, I mean, out of all three of our our ratings,
discussions and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it was an average of 7.8. All three of us. So I think that's pretty accurate. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
7.8, close to 8 as far as the game. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's because of what's in the game. No. It's because what's the extra stuff that's in the game. The bugs. The bugs actually hold this game back. It's not, they need to, like, I know I'm all over the place, but just think about it. Nobody is really talking about what needed to be added in Madden as far as what football things that are not in the game. Yeah. Everybody is saying what needs to be taken out to continue to progress the game.
And I'll say this. If they hammer down and fix that quarterback scrambling in a patch, my perception of this game will be even better. And everybody's going to say, well, this podcast is really negative. Well, look, when we talked about the beta and we talked about, even last week, we had a lot of positive things to say. But at the same time, we're not here to be fanboys. We're not here to appease anybody. We're here to give our honest opinion of this game. And the things that we are talking about aren't just little petty things. So people got to remember that.
No, but I think that's the thing. People feel that if you're, and I mean, I've heard people say it straight up. If you like this game, you're a part of a cult. You're a fanboy. You've been, for some reason, you've turned into a homosexual. I don't get it. I mean, I've actually heard people say that. It's like, yo, you sucking off the dev's dick if you like this game. I'm like, I don't get it. I mean, it's a good game. I like the game. What's wrong with it?
all that stuff is washed. In my opinion, it's so washed. I'm like, this was stuff that was good at the time. When,
it was funny back in 2010. Talking about
like in 2010, Madden 11. It was it was good until we got that first initial change and direction started changing as far as the game was concerned. I'm like, and it still had its legacy issues, but after a while, you just have to stop. I'm like, you just have to let things go.
And the other thing is,
stay the same forever.
The other thing is, these dudes got to be looking around them and seeing, oh shit, man, that was one of my. No, but it's like they got to be looking around and they're like, well, fuck, that dude used to bash Madden with me. Fuck, he's playing it, he likes it. Shit.
Man, listen, I've seen a lot of people who've changed their ways about this game. And
definitely, Dollar Jr. Shout out to Dollar Jr.
I mean, Dollar likes the game.
LT
likes the game. Hell, Keith likes the damn game.
Yes.
I
had him blocked forever. And
I mean,
same here.
Just to let you know, I did take you off the block list maybe months ago because I practice what I preach. I learned to let go of stuff. So
I mean, let me tell you about this guy. I mean, I've talked to him personally, and I know he's been way out there the past few years as far as people like him, man. It got to the point where I had to block him. I had to unblock him. He's blocked me. He's unfollowed me. He came to me he came to me straight up, and we actually just hashed it out. And I was like, I respect that. Ever since then, I haven't heard anything from him as far as the old Keith. And for him to turn around to buy this game and say he actually enjoys it, that just goes to show you what Madden 19 has done as far as their progression. People are actually starting to realize, like, look, this game is actually hitting on something, and I'm willing to give it a shot. So it's like, if people are, and this is the thing, I'm not really talking about people who just bash the game. That's not that right there is water under the bridge. I don't care for that. But when you start attacking others for liking the game, that's where the problem starts. You should not
Stop
be.
That.
Yeah, you shouldn't be bashing and talking bad about people for liking something that they personally like. That shit does not affect you. That's the problem I have.
And there was a question I saw yesterday asking, well, why does it concern you that such and such is bashing the game? Let me tell you why. Because he's coming in my fucking mentions. That's why. You want to bash the game by yourself?
Have at it.
At it. But don't come to my mentions and say, oh, well, you love the game and that's great, but the game sucks. Keep it to yourself. I don't give a fuck. I don't care what you do with your money or your time. If you're going to come in my mentions and talk about, you're going to come all the way out of your way to talk to somebody that you don't follow just to say, oh, the game still sucks. You get a life. Seriously.
I look at it like this, in Havo's concern, his side of things, to feature ESPN 2K5, and it's just like, okay, yeah, we knew how great that game was, but why don't you tell them about the trading logic, the broken trading logic in that game that torpedoed that mode for me? I'm like, Peyton Manning was getting traded every single week.
Okay,
and tossed around like a Fifth Street whore.
Let's also talk about the logic of the tight ends. The tight ends do not look back at the ball when the ball is. They don't have head tracking. The tight ends don't have head tracking in that game.
And we can talk. Hold on. And we can talk about, oh well, they didn't get a chance to. No, if we look at NBA 2K the way it is now, gameplay-wise, it would be the same thing. We'd be talking about these animations that need to get out the game because it's the interaction stuff.
And here's the other thing. You can't have it both ways. You can't be like on one side, oh, what? It's Madden 19. They're supposed to have that. And this game back then, no. If you're going to compare it to a game today, then don't go and slant it towards the game back then.
In other words, if you're gonna compare the game about how great the old game was, you should be able to take the criticism when we talk about how bad the old game was compared to the new one.
I had dudes come at me because I was like, I don't play All Pro 2K no more. I play Madden 19. What are you talking about? Madden 19 sucks. I said, well, show me something in 2K.
It's not even Bills. It's not even that. Bills. It's not even that. You don't even have to compare. The bottom line is you like Madden 19. You're playing it. It doesn't matter what they do.
But not only that,
it makes no sense. Why would they worry about you playing the game?
It's that, and that's a big part of it. But the thing is like, I like to debate as much as the next person, but don't bring foolishness to me.
Yeah, we know you like to debate.
I do like to. You like to debate too.
And you guys listening are about to find out because the next thing we're gonna talk about.
Matter of fact, go ahead and have at it because I'm tired of talking about these people who weren't about.
Yeah, we can stop talking about Madden.
Yeah, all in all, try Madden. I would try it.
I would try it. Yeah,
I would at least think you should go ahead and get it for the whatever discount you can get it off of EA Access, or if you got a PC. I definitely will.
Over a friend's house?
Yeah.
Yep. Friend's house is even the best thing. That's an old school thing.
Exactly. So what's this next topic y'all gonna get into?
Oh, all right. You get introduced to DJ. Go ahead.
Okay. So me and Bill has had this we were talking early on PSN, and I had mentioned a tweet that I seen Serena Williams bring up about motherhood, the fact that she's struggling, you know, balancing the two, motherhood and her tennis career. And she mentioned that she would like to be with her child more often than she is. And I made a comment. I was like, yeah, she's about to retire anyway. She's established that she is like the best tennis player, period. And I went as far as said that, you know, she would do work, whether it was male or female. This is when Bills chimed in.
Jesus Christ. So
yeah, go ahead.
So I was with him as far as him talking about certain pros from today. If he's talking about Serena beating them, she's far too skilled for a lot of those guys. But once he said all time, that's when he lost me.
I stand 100% behind that. Period. Like, we can mention these names in the past.
All-time Serena Williams, all-time tennis player?
Against all-time men.
All-time men, all-time women. Martina Navratilova couldn't handle her.
Well, I agree with
Yvonne Lendl probably couldn't handle her. John McEnroe probably couldn't. John McEnroe would be the first one to have a meltdown. John, what was it? Jimmy Connors? John, I'm trying to remember. It was
John.
Last name was Connors, but he was the U.S. Open guy. When he won, Jimmy Connors, I think, was his name. Whatever the case.
I can't follow this. I don't know all the tennis players, but I'm just gonna side with DJ because I like Serena.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I have Serena from her prime on beating any tennis player all time.
Yeah.
Not
you said one. Serena was gonna beat
she
Federer.
She would win more.
All right, now hold on now. Hold on now.
There you go.
Now I do like Serena, and I could say she's probably the most decorated all time. But Federer, I don't know.
No.
That's not. I don't think she'd be Federer. Now that you think about it, I was going to side with DJ, but Agassi's another one. I don't see that.
He got her beating Sampras, Nadal, Djokovic. Come on,
her beating a whole bunch of top male.
I think she'll have trouble with. I think she'll
have forever.
I think she have trouble with Sampras, Agassi, and Federer. Those three, I don't think she can touch them.
Now why? Since you don't follow tennis.
No, I'm just saying it. Just once knowing how those guys.
You just said moments ago you don't follow tennis.
No, I don't because those
the
other
players.
Yeah, I don't follow because all those players that y'all named.
So you follow just them three players?
No, yeah, because those three I know about those.
You know about them.
I know about Sampras, Agassi, and Federer. I know about them, but I don't like those other names y'all was naming.
What about Nadal though?
I don't know too much about Nadal.
Nadal would have fun on clay, but other than that, she would shut him down.
I don't know nothing. I've watched those other three play, and she can hang with them, but I don't think she'll beat them.
She'll beat them.
All right, so anyway, long story short, y'all got to go in the comment section and tell us how y'all feel about this because I feel like there's no way she would beat Federer. I don't think she would beat Nadal. I don't think she would beat McEnroe. I don't think she would beat Sampras. I don't think she would beat Agassi. After that,
Sampras
you might have
some, man.
She's beating them all.
Yeah, Sampras was nice back in this day, though.
Sampras was a monster until Federer came and told his ass to retire. That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, but they didn't play Serena, so.
They didn't play Serena. No, let me stop. I'm not even going to go there.
So with that being said, y'all got Brittany Griner dunking on.
See, here's the thing. Now, Bill's trying to make this comparison.
Okay, no, let me explain it. If you're gonna bring it up, let me explain it. All right, so VF, this is what I told him. I told him that saying that Serena Williams would beat Federer and people like that is basically just saying Maya Moore would beat Kevin Durant and LeBron James in one-on-one. Is it not the same?
Yeah,
not to me.
Well, I ain't gonna say. I'll say more of a Rebecca Lobo at least because their career is a little bit longer. So I'll say a Lobo or a Leslie or Swoops.
No, I'm saying right now Maya Moore would probably. I don't say the most accomplished. Well, damn, she might be. I mean, she got 3 national championships. She got 2 WNBA championships. She got an MVP.
But she's a team sport, though.
Yeah, but what we're talking
I'm
about.
talking about a
skill
player
set versus the
who
skill,
one-on-one can straight up just beat people in the submission.
which is
Like, that's
which
her
Michael Jordan
thing.
could do, right?
I would say in the first. Okay, so you put Maya Moore one-on-one against, like, let's say I wanted to say Maya Moore, like you were talking about Maya Moore. Maya Moore could handle herself in these one-on-one matchups.
Right.
You said Jordan. I was like, ain't no way she would be able to handle Jordan one-on-one.
Getting cooked. But hold on,
Because
but
these
why
basketball
is she
players
getting
flourish
Go ahead.
in a team sport atmosphere.
Okay, but
Serena flourishes one-on-one.
Let me
She
ask you a
beats
question,
you woman to woman, woman to man, whatever.
You got that.
She-
Let me
she'll
ask you a
beat
question though. Okay, why is Michael Jordan beating Maya Moore?
Shoot. Do we have enough time on the show?
You have plenty of time. Go ahead.
We don't have to even go far as to say that mentally she would not be able to handle what he
How
was
about
throwing.
physically?
It wouldn't even get to that point.
Okay, so physically, we already know that he is far
He would be going off at Jordan for the things that he would say to her on the court.
Bro, he would dunk on her, jump over her, hand check the hell out of her. Bro, come on, physically dominating.
I know a female that be dunking on dudes.
Oh shit! See, here we go. Okay, you know, I'll ask you. You know what? I got one. Okay, so Serena Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Serena Williams and you know, all those guys. Okay, would Ronda Rousey?
Where the hell Bills go?
Oh,
No, say that again, Bills. You got sniped. Say that again.
He got sniped.
You must be talking blasphemy.
John.
God damn.
Yo, what's going on, Bill? Bill's
Yo, the Me Too movement is going after him.
Oh God, hold on.
The Serena crowd is going after him. Nah, you're going in and out.
You're going in and out, bro.
Oh man.
Oh.
Now talk
All right,
now.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. It's probably
Wow.
against Daniel Cormier or John Jones.
So
Yo,
you said
know-
Ronda Rousey versus Daniel Cormier and John Jones? Yo, what's going on?
Okay, so basically you're saying now to make the fair comparison, since I talked about Serena one-on-one, now it's Ronda Rousey one-on-one against men.
Because it's physically dominating in both situations. Federer is clearly.
But you're talking about punching people and kicking people and
We're talking about skill.
No, we're talking physical skill, not technical skill. Serena has technical skill and has physical traits to back all those up.
She has physical skills as well.
So she would be in better position to take on men than Ronda Rousey or Maya Moore.
No, she wouldn't.
Yes, she would.
No, she wouldn't.
Yes, we're not
She'd get her ass
We're
kicked.
just gonna agree to
Just get her ass kicked.
I say with technical skill,
She'd
where
get
you're
her-
not punching anybody, hand checking anybody. This is hitting a ball across the net, over a net, across to the other side, trying to outmaneuver the person. Serena Williams has more of an advantage to be a man than Ronda Rousey in the octagon and then Maya Moore on a basketball court.
She's getting her ass kicked.
Oh, the other two are getting their asses kicked. Serena Williams is handling business.
Serena Williams is getting beaten straight sets against Federer. She's getting beaten straight sets against.
No, that is not happening. We already know that's not happening.
We don't know at all, actually. It's hypothetical.
I'm just telling you straight up, that's not happening.
Man, please.
And at the end of the day, we don't hate each other. See how that works?
I know we're not gonna go and block each other and then subtweet it. You know, no, that's not what we're gonna do here.
But
Save 65, man. Save 65.
Man, these dudes need to
this
say.
is like one of many debates we've had. We had another one previously. I forgot what it was. I recorded this one.
But see, that's the thing. I mean, we all do this, and I mean, this is what we do in the PSN chats. I mean, we all have debates about a little bit of everything, but at the end of the day, we're still cool. I mean, like we said, it works. Some people on social media could learn from that.
And I got a debate that we can have, not so much debate, but more so a conversation.
Mhm.
I think a new topic, because we were talking about the Redskins the other day, the 91 Redskins, I believe.
Yes. My favorite.
So I want to bring in the conversation of when we talk about some of the greatest teams of all time in the NFL. I just want if you could name just some teams that would be in your mind when you're talking about the greatest teams of all time. I'll let VF go first, as me and DJ kind of talked about it a little bit.
Oh, me? I mean, I could. How many teams I gotta pick? Just one or
Just name whatever teams come to your mind. Just some teams that
Like,
you would
pick your
consider.
top three. Let's
Yeah.
just
top
narrow
four
it down to three
teams
teams
that I've
that come to
my
your
favorite
mind.
team?
I'm like, you may forget a couple of you,
Oh,
but
I mean the '94 Niners. They were a great team.
Yep.
I remember well, I don't remember them, so I'm not going to name them. I'll say, oh goodness, the 2000 Rams, or was it the 99 or 2000
99.
Rams?
99, yep.
Yeah, 99 Rams. They were great. I'll try to come up with a more current one, but most of the teams that are out now that's current, they weren't like a really good team. They just found a way to win.
Well, let me throw one out for current team. What about the 2014 Seahawks?
That was just so defensive laden, though. I don't. As far as a whole team, it's like that was like 75% or almost 80% defense.
Yeah,
Not
but
saying
you still
that-
got
not
Marshall,
saying-
you still got Russell Wilson.
Yeah, not saying that the team wasn't bad. It's just that we knew what ran that team. I mean, you look at these other teams that we're talking about. I mean, like I said, the '94 Niners. I mean, that team was just balanced all the way around. They were just a great team.
Oh, okay, I got one. I got one that's on my list. The 04 Patriots that beat the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that team. Yeah, I can agree with that because that team was balanced all the way around. I mean, when we're talking about great teams, that's what I look at. I look at it something like a team. I mean, the '85 Bears. Everybody want to talk about them, but we all know that nobody.
it's
talking
mostly
about
their defense.
Yeah, nobody talking about McMahon at quarterback.
And same with the Ravens. 2000
Yeah.
Ravens, it was mostly defense. Nobody
And
worried about Trent Dilfer and Tony Banks.
Right.
And you know what's funny is I have another just a small topic since you brought that up. As far as being balanced, one thing that a lot of people were talking about on this top 10 show that they had on NFL Network was they wanted to know, do you have to win the Super Bowl to be considered for that spot?
What spot? What spot again?
Yes.
Greatest of all time.
Greatest
top-
all-time
Say
team?
yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
In
would say
football,
yes.
yeah, absolutely.
Because, see, a lot of people were trying to make an argument for the Patriots, which, yeah, if you're talking about collection of talent, the year they lost to the Giants, you might have a point. They didn't win the Super Bowl. If you don't win the Super Bowl, then we're talking about what ifs.
Yeah, I mean, even though they damn near were undefeated that year, was it? Yeah, they were undefeated in '07, and they almost did it. But no, I can't say because they lost.
Yeah, because a lot of people talk about interchangeable years with these dynasties. Like, you got interchangeable years with the 49ers. You got interchangeable years with the Cowboys where they were just as good, but they lost to another great team. If that's the case, then you got to give the nod to that great team that beat them. You can't say they didn't win the Super Bowl, but when you look at what they did in the regular season, it's like, forget about what they did in the regular season.
But you know what? At the end of the day, when somebody goes out there and does the research and looks at the statistics and even goes even deeper into the statistics, they sat there and said that the '91 Redskins. I'm not saying it's just going to Redskins fan. This person actually did research, and it was just like statistically they were just better than any other. And they were just talking about Super Bowl winning teams. Obviously we're not adding in the teams that didn't win Super Bowls, like the '07 Patriots.
Man,
I'm like, they statistically possibly could be in line with the '91 Redskins, but they said statistically there was no other Super Bowl winning team that was better than the '91 Redskins. I'm like, you talking about a team that was balanced, offense, defense, special teams, head coach.
I mean, when you're talking about the greatest, you got to be a team that won. I mean, you can't be the greatest and be in second place. That makes no sense.
Yeah,
Right,
like the '73 and '9 Golden State Warriors.
No,
Well,
exactly.
You see, that's the thing. I would say basketball might.
It don't mean a thing unless you
Yeah.
ring.
Okay, Scotty, but seriously,
I'm just saying.
no,
I
What I'm
don't remember
saying-
that '73 and '9 squad. Just to let you know, because they
No,
didn't
because
win it.
I mean, you just got to look at it just in one.
Nobody
sentence.
remembers the loser that year.
No,
remember?
just one straight sentence. The greatest team of all time lost to such and such. That entire logic makes no sense.
No.
Yeah.
So I'm saying if you take them out of the argument of the greatest, like as in number one, that Golden State Warriors team is still top five, even though they lost.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, you
I
That's
can
can
what I'm
say
agree with
saying.
top
that.
That's what
five,
I'm
but
saying.
you can't put them in
No,
like.
not the greatest. That's why I said we're not really talking about the top spot. I mean, if I was talking about the top
Like, yeah,
spot,
they will appear on the next 2K. They are probably already have. I mean, as far as when they went to the historical
But is
teams,
he is
not
either that is either that he could buy them via microtransactions.
oh
oh
shit.
god,
But not like when I talk about the greatest team of all time, then of course you have to win the championship of your respective league. When I think about some of the greatest teams of all time, I definitely got to look at the 94 49ers for sure. I got to look at the 92 Cowboys, honestly. The
Yeah,
92
92
Cowboys.
Cowboys was good. Yes, yes, absolutely.
Um, '04 Pats,
I
91
got
Redskins. Um, and I would say that Rams team you brought up is really good. I would say that all of those teams have an argument, but I'm pretty sure that there's somebody older than us that would go back and say that one of those Steelers teams in the '70s might have an argument. So,
well,
Yeah,
then that
because
that person would probably be me, even though I'm not. I wasn't. Let's see.
I mean, I'm a somewhat of a historian of the NFL, but
Yeah, same with me.
I can honestly say that those '70s teams, the Steel Curtain of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were a very balanced team. I mean, you're talking about Franco Harris, Lynn Swann, Terry Bradshaw, that defense. Mean Joe Green. I mean, they had some players. So yeah, anybody who actually saw those guys play, they could have a really good argument because they physically saw them. I mean, we just know what they had.
right. I mean, I watched maybe 3 or 4 games from those '70s Steelers. Obviously, I watched all the Super Bowls, but as far as regular season games, I didn't see them in depth enough. It's kind of like me trying to assess, like the '60s Celtics or something like that, comparing them to teams of today. Thing with basketball is I do have like a bigger library of basketball games, than football by far. I mean, I've seen so many regular season Bulls games that I'm well versed with every year and all that stuff. With football, it's a bit harder to kind of track those down.
But you
Yeah.
didn't watch it in SD though.
Yeah, we did that.
And see, that's the thing. And that's the thing. That's what the old heads on Facebook like to do when they try to. Sometimes what they do is when they try to discredit my opinion. Ooh, well, you weren't even living back then. I'm like, so wait, would you rather have somebody who watched the games now and understood basketball, or watch the games back then and didn't know shit, watching basketball now and don't know shit? I'd rather a person who came after, watched the game, already understood the game, and can assess it from that, because then you don't have a bias. People from back then, and it's not y'all two, because y'all two definitely don't, but people from back then have this bias that, nothing can touch that era, and anybody who says anything from this era about it don't know what they're talking about, and that's just simply not true. That's a misconception that they got to get rid of.
Because my thing is, I grew up watching the Michael Jordans of the world. That was the guy who influenced me to watch basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody try to compare Jordan to somebody else, I get their point, but for my personal preference, he influenced me to watch the game, and I understand that other players may come break records, they may be better, but that it's just that personal relationship I had when I was 5 years old, when I was 6 years old, growing up watching him play. They can't. The next player, as great as they may be, they can't take that away from me. But at the same time, I recognize greatness when I see it. Some people just can't. Some people can't do that.
And that's the point. Recognizing greatness is something that people really fail to do when they let their bias get in the way. Because you can tell you're debating with somebody that has a bias when they can't even recognize shit that's on paper, facts. They get into their whole diatribe about, their era, and they romanticize their era. And it's no different these days. People have this romanticized view of this era. And honestly, any historian of basketball, and I can consider myself a historian of basketball, any historian of basketball that's watched basketball from pretty much every era can tell you that every era had good and bad.
So, you think people who who fantasize about their era. They're fantasizing about 2K football, and they can't let it go.
Of course they are. There are people who will probably tell you that Joe Montana football from back in the day is probably better than Madden.
Hey man, Joe Montana football on the Genesis. That first one was the shit though. That game was. I'm dead serious. That game was amazing, yo.
Now I haven't really mentioned my thoughts about because obviously the '91 Redskins are going to come to mind. Watching that as a 11-year-old, watching as an 11-year-old was amazing that year to see them just beat teams. Not like every game was a blowout. Obviously, they had the close games. They actually came back from 21 down against the Cowboys in Dallas and beat them there. But to watch that season unfold, it was pretty much like the 07 Patriots. But other teams that I thought were dominant and they won their Super Bowls, I look at the 87, 88 49ers. Like they went back to back, so I could say both of those teams were fairly dominant teams, led by Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Brent Jones, and the likes, Rathman, Ronnie Lott.
Yeah, those teams were great. Kid Norton wasn't there yet, was he? No.
No, I think he
got there in the 90s.
Yeah,
he wasn't there yet.
And then I could say low key that one giant Super Bowl team, the 86 Super Bowl team that crushed Denver was pretty dominant.
Yeah, they were pretty good. Yeah, I agree, they were pretty good.
I'm like, everyone hated Phil Simms, but Bill Parcells was.
And we still hate Phil Simms around here.
Fake Simms.
Well, I would say this though.
We still hate him.
I would say this though.
Terrible commentator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Well, when they do something like that, that is a trick play. No shit. It's a trick play.
I agree with the Giants. I will say this, that one of the worst Super Bowl teams I've ever seen was that 96 Packers team.
Why the Patriots lost?
Really?
Bro, I honestly don't get why the Patriots lost that game.
Yeah, I was about to say, how did the Patriots lose to them?
The Packers really weren't that good that year.
No, they weren't.
I was about to say that even though the Patriots didn't win that Super Bowl that year, I thought the Patriots was one of the worst Super Bowl teams. But then we can talk about Raiders squad that got blown out by the Buccaneers in that Super Bowl. That was
Wait, what's the Patriots squad you were talking about though?
The Patriots squad that went up against the Packers with Drew Bledsoe.
No, I was saying the worst Super Bowl winner.
Oh, worst Super Bowl. No, but I was saying also as far
as. In other words,
he
was saying both teams weren't all that good.
Oh yeah, it was a shit show. Yeah.
Yeah. So to continue on, I said 91 Redskins, 88 and 89 49ers. Talked about the 86 Giants. Let's see. Go back. I would say the 92 Cowboys, and then. Definitely the Patriots. I would pick.
Gotta be that 04 squad. There was nobody touching them.
Yeah.
Unless you want to go 2014 because they were really good with Revis.
Mm-hmm. No, I'll go with the. You said the 04 squad, 04, right?
Yeah, the one.
Yeah, I'll go with the 04 squad.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I really wasn't. I'm not thrilled with the recent Super Bowl winners.
Now, see, I got one that I want to bring up to y'all because this team wasn't a favorite throughout the year, but based on how they played in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, they're one of the teams that impressed me the most in recent history, and it's that Green Bay Packers team that won recently. Because they were, from top to bottom, they were stacked.
They played the Steelers that year, didn't they?
Yep. And that Steelers team was stacked.
Yeah.
I really didn't enjoy that Super Bowl that much.
The Super Bowl was garbage. The Super Bowl was garbage. But looking at the pieces that they had between Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, you got Nick Collins on defense. He was a Pro Bowl. You got Nick Barnett still there. Clay Matthews. You had Mike McCarthy as the coach. Aaron Rodgers obviously as a quarterback. They were stacked, and they were going on the road and annihilating teams in the playoffs.
And I had more fun watching Seattle dismantle Denver. That was just outright embarrassing. And you're talking about a person that I was used to Super Bowls where the NFC would just embarrass the AFC. Mm-hmm. So it was just like when people would ask me, like, why did you find that Super Bowl fun? It was a blowout. I don't think people were watching. Nah, because I like people getting their ass whipped in the biggest game of them all, because it's, that's how you know a team is truly dominant, even though, it's the any given Sunday when it comes to NFL, because the playoffs are single elimination. But the thing is, it's the biggest game on the planet at that moment in time. If you're not ready, you're going to get exposed quickly, and that's what happens. That's what happens in these blowout situations. Teams, players get exposed, and it's too much for them.
That game was such a wash. Demaryius Thomas broke records in the Super Bowl, and nobody knew. He broke the receptions record. He almost broke the yards record, and it didn't matter after the first quarter. Because that whole snapped the ball over Peyton Manning's head.
Yeah, I'm about to say that. That whole offensive line was just scared as shit. That's basically what it was.
And those receivers were scared to run into Cam Chancellor after what he did to Vernon Davis the week before.
God damn. At least Vernon Davis is alive and breathing.
Hell yeah.
Bless his heart.
I'll tell you, another bad Super Bowl was that damn Broncos and Panthers Super Bowl.
Ew.
When Cam Newton
it wasn't a bad Super Bowl. It was just a bad performance by the Panthers.
That would make it a bad Super Bowl.
It was just a bad Super Bowl.
No, what I was saying, bad Super Bowl performance by the Panthers.
I'm saying DJ said.
Oh,
that wasn't a bad suit. It was just cooked improperly. That would make it a bad suit. Now would it?
No, it's like, because the thing was is first off, like, it wasn't even really a defensive battle. It was a very badly played game. Honestly,
that's what I'm saying. It was
on one side.
I mean, I kind of understand why the Broncos weren't playing that well. I mean, you literally had Peyton Manning out there throwing with a noodle arm.
Damn wiffle arm.
Yeah, I get that. I get it. But I mean, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for the Panthers to play as bad as they did.
And I'll say this too. That Broncos defense might go down in history as one of the dominant ones.
No, that is true. I can agree with that.
Oh my God, that defense that year was just stacked, man. You got Aqib Talib and Chris Harris on the corners. You got Vaughn Davis. You got DeMarcus Ware on the other side. You got Wade Phillips manning that entire defense. I mean, man,
you're gonna have these old Bears and Ravens fans talk about sacrilege.
Yeah, but the thing
gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about?
But see, the thing, but you know what though, and I'll say it the same way I say it about great defensive players in today's league. When you make it harder for teams to play defense and they still dominate, there's something to be said for that. So that Seattle team and that Denver team, those are the two teams that I look at and I'm just like, they make it so hard for you guys annually to play defense. And for you guys to dominate teams the way you did defensively, they dominated my team defensively. Denver did.
Shoot. And also, just to add to that, the rules that they have in place. Like, we're looking at it this year, and players trying to make tackles, if they even think about lowering their head, get penalized. And they're making proper tackles, proper hits on the proper locations that they're hitting players, and they're getting penalized.
I hate it.
It is the worst rule change in all of football, next to the fact that they can't decide what a catch is.
Well, I've heard they got that situated. I'm yet to see how that goes. But
no, they don't.
I know one thing
they still have messed up too, bro.
Yeah, I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any preseason games, so don't crucify me.
Because you can kind of see that in the Madden video game. Just to throw that back in there, because you'll have instances where you think it's a catch, and then it turns out to be a fumble because of whatever, and then sometimes that same exact thing, it'll be an incomplete pass. So even the game doesn't even know what to call a catch and what to call.
Yeah, they basically overcomplicated the whole rule. It's ridiculous.
All they gotta do is just say he got it in his hands and make it contextual. If it's on the sideline, he has to have 2 feet in. And when they start adding that contextual shit in the middle of the field, that's when it gets complicated. They should keep it to, if he's in the end zone, he has to get 2 feet down and secure the football. If he's to the sideline, he has to get 2 feet down, has to maintain possession. If he's in the middle of the field, as soon as he secures the football, doesn't have to have 2 feet down.
No, I agree.
I'm like, he's in the middle of the field. He's not going out of bounds. He's not in the end zone going anywhere.
Yeah.
And if he loses the ball after he secures it in the air, it's a live football.
And the thing is also, it's a very dangerous game to playing with this tackling, because now you're going to look at defenders getting hurt.
That's the issue that I have, that they shit the field on this one. They really got this wrong, and I wouldn't be surprised that this season is just going to be full of just sloppy football because nobody knows what to do, and it's just not going to look. It's not going to be a good look. It's going to be terrible.
That's why the quality of tackling has gone down each and every year. That's why, just go back to the game again, I always turn down the tackling sliders. Because you're not going to always get one-on-one tackles like it was back in the old days when the rules were fair for offense and defense.
You're going to have a lot of Pro Bowl lookalike games.
Mm-hmm.
And people remember how the Pro Bowl was for a couple years.
Oh, God.
So, it was just as bad as the NBA All-Star game.
I mean, they're doing stuff with the kick returns. And, oh, man. And then, to another thing people aren't paying attention to, these dumbass taunting penalties.
Oh, God.
I mean, God, if you laid somebody out, you're telling me you can't stand over for a second and say, yeah, I fucking knocked you down, bro. I blasted you.
They seem like they just want everybody to be... They just want people to be robots. I mean, you see that how long that worked with the celebrations. They had to change that because they knew it was going over the top, how they wanted people to be at the celebration of a touchdown.
Well, they did put out this statistic out here, and it seems like, and it's unfortunate to say this, but as of right now, there are more female fans than there are male fans in the NFL. So it seems like, along with not getting sued, that the NFL is making all these rule changes to continue to appeal to more women. Now, I'm not saying it's solely because of that, because the other factor is about money and about possibly getting sued because of these posts, like there were players that are in retirement suing because of long-term effects of repeated hits and concussions and stuff like that. But at the same time, you got the fact that they're not having the men do what they do, but in the same token, you have the Legends Football League, which used to be the Lingerie Football League. They could fight each other on the field and nothing be said.
I mean, my thing is, I get it when they're trying to regulate these hits for people getting concussions. I get that. But that's where it needs to stop. They don't need to be doing this extra stuff to go the extra mile to make the game, quote-unquote, safer, because they're just making the game not be like football. If you want to make sure players don't hurt themselves, I get it. But all the other stuff got to go.
But
I don't see why it would be any more simpler than that.
On top of that, and this may sound like a cold-hearted thing to say, but when you start to play football, you pretty much know what you're getting into.
Exactly, because I know exactly what I was getting into.
A lot of things that you talk about, these concussion lawsuits and stuff like that, yeah, that's unfortunate that that's happening, but they wanted to play football.
You know why these lawsuits are happening, right? Because they don't necessarily have to sign a waiver to none of this. They just go and play.
Which, in turn, is a waiver. No one's forcing people to play football.
I get it.
No one has. That's the thing. No one has.
Yeah, but when you walk in,
anybody. Oh, go ahead.
When you walk in the courtroom, that's not going to fly. That stuff has to be documented. Other than that, that's why these lawsuits are still going.
What happens when you sign a contract?
Yeah, but what's in that contract? You got to understand what's in there. I get what you're saying. The reason you got to say what's in that contract. If in that contract saying like, well, if you bust your brains open, we're not liable, that's one thing. These contracts are basically saying we don't want you to hurt yourself off the field because we want you healthy on the field.
Well, the reason why these lawsuits are happening now is not so much with the current players, but the issue was with these lawsuits in the past, the fact that the NFL withheld information that they knew about concussions and CTE. these players that weren't provided that information when they were playing. That's how a lot of these, if you watch the movie Concussion, I don't know if you guys have seen it. It explains a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as the lawsuits today, I don't think a lot of people are gonna have anything that holds water because now that all this information is out there, they can't really say they didn't know.
Right.
Right.
More so these guys that played back in the 70s and the 80s that lied about having concussions to get back in the game and scared they're going to lose their job and that and that. The NFL was withholding information and it was proven that they knew the effects of
that's different. If
that
they
is
knew
very much
if they knew that this was hurting the players and they didn't say nothing, that's one thing. But another thing is like I was saying earlier, if they just chose to go play without any documentation saying like this and this is going to happen if you play, we're not liable for this, that's a different story. One thing is for them to hold information that like they know that they're getting hurt and they're just not saying anything. Yeah, I can see why these guys are filing lawsuits now. I get that 100%.
Right, it's like the NFL can't be a league where back in the 70s it's like you're walking into a boxing gym and sign a waiver like, hey, if you get fucked up, we're not liable for you. It's like, no, like back in the day, people didn't know about what getting fucked up was.
Right.
If you had a headache when you went to sleep, you thought it was a headache. If you 20 years down the road,
but I mean, that's
you can't remember your kids' names, that's something that's on the NFL because they withheld information.
Yeah, but that goes back to like any type of job in general. If these guys know, like say if you work in a factory and then that factory has some toxic chemical or some toxic fumes that are harming you, but you don't know about it, but they do, they could be really held liable for that. It's almost like it's basically the same thing. That's why you see like in these plants or if you work in a warehouse or whatever, they have this stuff posted. Like this type of stuff would do this. Be mindful. Tell your supervisor if you have these symptoms. If something happens, please let us know ASAP. You know what I'm saying? That's totally different compared to what the NFL is doing. And you have evidence saying that they knew about this stuff and they didn't. Matter of fact, didn't they go up to Congress talking about this and they tried to hide it and the Congress basically, chewed them out and that's when all this other stuff started happening?
I have a comparison to this. That's actually happening right now. A comparison to this would be twofold. The first is asbestos and mesothelioma.
Right.
A lot of these
I've
companies,
heard those lawsuits.
Yep, a lot of these companies knew about it, and they had these people working these conditions, and then they contract all these different diseases. So that was one. The other one is Johnson & Johnson is currently going through a huge, huge lawsuit. They're doling out billions of dollars because their products.
They make some amazing lotion too.
Well, and see that's the thing is with these lawsuits. What's coming out is, and even NBC said it, NBC released an article about it. They said that a lot of these lawsuits don't really have much basis to prove that this powder caused ovarian cancer. That's basically what's happening here.
I said the lotion. I ain't nothing about.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So what's happening is there's like a whole bunch of females that are coming out with a representative and they're saying that the Johnson & Johnson baby powder caused ovarian cancer, and they're paying out a whole shit ton of money, bro. It's crazy. So what's happening is the Cancer Institute is coming out and basically disproving a lot of it and saying, look, it's not true. There's nothing that proves that this shit is causing cancer. And meanwhile, Johnson & Johnson's still losing case after case after case after case. So it's kind of the same with the NFL where a lot of these players can prove they didn't know. Once you start getting into the 90s, the 2000s, that's when some of them might not necessarily have a case.
Right. I get what you're saying. Yeah. It's unfortunate all the way around. So, I mean, I understand what the NFL is doing, but they really need to come with some other way to get things done because we already, like, from the basis of this discussion, these guys are the tackling and the game, the way it's played on the field is really being impacted to the point where everybody's going to get some type of penalty for doing just basic tackles. And
I'll be honest, I'm pretty much fully with DJ as far as saying that now they know what they signed up for. I'll be honest, if you took a poll around the NFL and asked how many players would want to be protected by these rules, I don't think many people would vote in favor of that because they understand that both sides of the ball will easily get injured trying to decide how am I going to truck this guy if I can't drop my head? How am I going to separate this dude from the ball if I can't use my shoulder? You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't think these players are really in favor of these rules. And if you took a poll around the NFL, I think all of them will understand that they know what they're signing up for.
Yeah, because a lot of people that it seems like are not being consulted are the ones that are being hit. Like I know being hit in the legs, being hit in the chest, being hit in the head. I don't are different things. I'd rather be hit in the chest area. But I don't want players to feel like they have to hit me in my leg.
Exactly.
And because, if they lower their head, they're going to be penalized.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have to throw a shoulder. Yeah, they have to throw a shoulder at my knees, in which if I had my legs planted at the time, that could be a career ender. I'm like, a shot to the head could be a career ender too. So yeah, get me away from, take the shot, lower the shots, but keep it chest level. But you got people. You're talking about heads. They talk about heads up tackling, and these folks It's just difficult to be a defender in the NFL because you're making a textbook tackle.
Not textbook.
It's no longer textbook now.
That's what I'm saying. It's not textbook. That's
yeah.
And
from my perspective, having played running back, I mean, I can't truck nobody without at least dropping my head a little bit. There's no way to get your head out.
Your head's a part of the head.
Yeah, you're supposed to truck people with your shoulder, but
they literally tell you to run behind your shoulder pads. But
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
if you truck somebody with your shoulders, guess what's going down with your shoulder? Your head is attached right there.
And if you look at the biomechanics of it, everything supports each other. Yeah, you lower your head, but you're lowering your head so your neck is in a neutral position to where it's supported by like the muscles and bone structure of your neck, which is supported by the shoulders. Everything like in the upper body needs to be aligned to the point where you make contact. Yeah, there's a little compression there, but then it's all supported. If somebody comes in and tackling with their head up, they're probably going to break their neck.
Yep.
They're going to have all sorts of injuries. We already know you can't use the crown of your helmet, so you're not going to have people do that.
Have a nigga get put on your ass. That's the first thing.
I mean, let's make it simple. I mean, you can't do a running bear hug on somebody. You're going to end up killing yourself.
Pretty much.
You can't do it. You can't do a running bear hug on somebody.
Because here's the thing: are these penalties being? Because I thought they also made it applicable to the running backs lowering their heads.
They did.
Yeah,
and that's my thing from my perspective.
But have they literally called this penalty for the offense?
Yes.
I mean, have they consistently done
Yes.
it? Okay. So now it's on both sides. But the thing is, it's like, so I've seen running backs run with their heads up and they get killed. So
this is what I'll say to this is, if you're going to put it on the running back side of the ball, look forward to a lot of fumbles.
Mm-hmm.
And look forward to a lot of running out of bounds instead of fighting for extra yards.
And
which is
fine. Whiplash type injuries too when they get hit.
Whiplash injuries. You're going to have, now that the defense has to...
You can really crack your sternum like that, too.
You can.
Yeah, you're leaving that wide open.
And more importantly, if I'm literally trying to get my head out of the way and use my shoulder pad to truck you, I'm giving you a target to tackle me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm literally showing my hand and saying I'm going to try to truck you with my left or right shoulder, you already know to swivel your hips and go with the momentum. I mean, that's football.
I don't know. Like I said, this whole thing, man, we're going to see how it plays out during the regular season. But I can see some people probably getting ejected or fined just for doing basic stuff.
But you know what? These announcers aren't helping either.
They have no clue.
They aren't.
Because they sit there, they see what's happening.
And damage
control. But they really tell you the narrative of it. They don't tell you the actuality of what happened. They don't give you the content. Well, the guy
only the local ones. Some of the local ones do, but the national ones are awful.
Yeah, Bills got it on the head. They damage control for the NFL every time when they have a situation where the referee throws this flag. They're trying their best to make it seem like, he tackled it that way and it looks right. It looks like he tackled it in the right way, but the NFL's rule says this, but it's okay because they're going to learn. No, you cannot teach somebody who's been playing football for 4 or 5 years old.
You got announcers. Yeah,
Oh,
you
go
got
ahead.
announcers that don't even go in that far. They just blatantly just tell you, well, he's not supposed to do that. Well, wait a minute, why did he had to do that? Because like you have wide receivers that lower their heads when they get hit, so they get hit in the head. The
Does it?
announcers are like, oh, he shouldn't have aimed for his
Every
head. Oh,
announcer,
he ducked.
from what I've experienced in preseason, and I've watched a lot of preseason games this week, from what I've experienced is every single commentator, other than these local ones, every single commentator has sounded like that guy in the NBA that's a representative for flagrant fouls, trying to find any way to make it seem like, yeah, they should have called it.
Oh, like that. What's that guy named Pereira guy?
Mike Pereira.
Yeah, Mike Pereira. Who
Everybody
tried to
sounds
damage
like
control
Mike Pereira now.
Yeah, it was not. I see it, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be just as bad as it is in college when these kids who get ejected from the game from some of these bullshit ass hits. They get, and then the announcers are sitting there trying to justify why he hit him that way, and we're clearly looking at it that it's not as bad as it was. And they're just trying to. It's like they're trying to save face for the company.
And the number one thing they do is they say, "Okay, well that hit was unnecessary." Well, how do you deem it unnecessary?
With the
guy
speed
was
of the game,
going to catch the ball.
The way the speed of the game is, how is it necessary or unnecessary?
Right.
You're just playing the game. It's going to happen.
Exactly. We had this issue for a while with roughing the passer, didn't we? Tom Brady hurts his knee. All of a sudden, you can't hit quarterbacks low. Don't do that. Okay, well, I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah, but meanwhile, what was it? Carson Palmer has his career changed because of one of those hits.
Carson Palmer's getting hit low. Michael Vick's just getting hit. Period.
But you notice they don't talk about they don't talk about that at all no more.
No.
They got rid of that quick because they knew how stupid it was. They realized how stupid it was to continuously trying to talk about that, so they don't even talk about it no more.
You used to have guys getting pushed in the quarterbacks getting called for that.
Yeah, it was real bad. Hopefully we'll end up getting to that point too with these, because I saw some highlights of like on Twitter, people were talking about what's the penalty, what's not. Some of this stuff was like just straight textbook tackles, and these guys are getting penalized for it.
And that's the thing. It's like everybody who's played football and anybody who's watched football long enough can tell what an egregious hit is.
Yeah.
You can tell the intent.
When you torpedo somebody, when you leave with the
these
crowd,
headhunters that would jump up in the air to hit somebody in the head.
Right, when they're jumping up towards you and they got their fists towards their chest looking like a bullet.
I remember right around, I think, 2011, that's when the epidemic really started. Deshaun Jackson and Dante Robinson knocked themselves out.
Yeah, Dante Robinson, he put a lick on him. Though.
That was when dudes were just throwing their body because they couldn't tackle. They didn't know how to tackle. They were just throwing their bodies at people. DJ Swearinger had a couple of dirty ones, but he's improved to the point where that you'll never see that again.
Brandon Merriweather was another one.
Merriweather was egregious. TJ Ward had a couple of dirty ones.
Yeah, Brandon Merriweather was the guy that jumped up in the air to hit somebody in the head. I'm like, if they penalize people for if they do it based on intent, there'd be less flags thrown. I'm like, like you mentioned earlier, you can tell
Perfect was another one.
Somebody in the head.
Montez Burfict has some dirty ones, and Bernard Pollard has some dirty ones too.
Yeah, he had that one on the sideline against. Potentially he wound up missing, but he had that one where he could have destroyed Griffin on the sideline in that game in 2012. So. Did he go out again?
Was knocked out.
Yeah, who was knocked out?
Ridley.
That's right.
He spun around.
Bill's getting sniped again.
Damn.
You know what? Oh. We might want to go ahead and close the podcast because he just keep getting sniped.
Well, let me make this one announcement because I just saw it and I'm sure you guys it's popped up on your timeline because I just retweeted it. So the guy that does the rosters for MLB The Show, he goes by the name of Ryden, but it's actually at OSFM 18 rosters. He just announced that the PS4 draft class for Madden 19, the 2019 draft class, will be available tonight on PS4, but Xbox One will be next week or so.
Okay, that sounds cool. So get your draft class on. I'm pretty sure somebody in the PC world is doing the ones for PC.
And speaking of which, modding there's already some, not an existing mod, but somebody is currently working on a PC mod system for Madden. So be on the lookout.
I can promise you what it is August 11th at the time of this podcast, August 12th at the time of the podcast. I can promise you probably by August 20th it'll be up and running. The PC guys don't play when it comes to stuff like that. At the latest, the 20th. I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
So that's good. That's good. So we'll see what kind of mod system they come up with, what teams they come up with. Personally, obviously, I would love to see some NCAA teams for 1. 2, I wouldn't mind to see some CFL teams as well. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Hey, anybody know what teams that was supposed to be on Joe Montana football? Because I like to see those teams too. That red and black team.
The random black team?
No, the red and black
that
team.
That could go so many different ways.
The red and black team that was on the...
Oh, red and black.
Yeah, that was on the Joe Montana football team. I want to play as them.
You'd have to ask Havo Grow.
All right, and that's when we're going to close this podcast. Y'all got anything to add? Because I'm done. I'm done. Anything, DJ, Bills? Y'all got something?
It's been real.
Yeah, I think this has been a pretty good podcast. I mean, we gave our thoughts, our review of Madden 18, Madden 19.
On the fly.
Pretty much we're going to give it a 7.8. That's the average between the three of us. I rated it a little bit higher. I too really enjoyed the game.
I had the lowest rating, just the keep it real factor here. I had the lowest. So
yeah, and Bills had the most generous rating.
Yep,
literally, because it could have. Yeah.
I mean,
could have been lower than mine, especially when you went on that spiel.
Yeah, I mean, once you started adding those points and compared to what I was thinking like in the game,
7.
Yeah, I mean, I could see your guys' point for it to be lower than what we put it.
Yeah.
But this game could go either way. I mean, the game could be easily a 9.5, 10 if you had people who did the rosters right and the bugs wasn't in the game. This is pretty much one of the first Maddens that you can honestly say that it's not necessarily fundamentally flawed. It just has bugs. Yep. And I guess that's a positive if you really look at the state of Madden in general.
I swear that's an incentive for you devs out there working on Madden to understand what these ratings do and what these sliders do. We cannot go any longer not knowing what they do. And we know this for a fact that you guys don't know what they do because we are still waiting on answers and we're still waiting on blogs to explain any of it.
So. We gave a bit of a cheat code in this podcast. So
and not only that, I mean, Bill's just pretty much discovered the big problem with the ratings in Madden. They're just worrying about a number to appease people on social media, not necessarily having these players play like their counterparts. And that's a serious problem when it comes to Madden because 2K, hell, you can even say NBA Live, even though their ratings the way they are, their players play like their counterparts. Why Madden is behind? I don't get it.
Like Trae Young is 80. What is he? 81.
Ain't nothing accurate about that. Ain't nothing accurate about that. He need to be like a 71.
Jesus Christ.
Nothing accurate about it. He gonna have to show and prove because he's not worthy of a 77.
I want to know what happened with that jump from a 78 to 81 that they talked about because he's supposed to.
No, he's an 81 or 84.
No, he's supposed to be a 78.
You talking about these game users are snowflakes? These goddamn players are snowflakes. God, I've never heard anybody worry so much about their own rating. You're playing the actual sport.
Exactly.
If they got a problem with the rating, they know what they got to do. They better go out there and ball and just improve it.
That's what Juju did. That's what Juju did.
Yeah, he even said it.
If you ain't balling, we ain't raising your rating.
I don't have anything else to add.
I got one more thing. Fuck,
go ahead.
Fuck Ronnie 2K. All right,
damn. Jeez.
I ain't got
For anybody who doesn't know what happened with this clown.
Oh boy.
The latest incident in Ronnie 2K's fucking delusional ass mind of his. He basically told an NBA player he'd have to wait one of these years, apparently, to get his NBA rating, NBA 2K rating, not knowing that the dude was already in the NBA.
And then try to play it off like, oh, yeah, I knew that.
No, you didn't.
Okay, cool. Fuck you.
Man, he's such an arrogant ass, man.
He is, and he sucks. And he sucks at the game. How do you play the game early every year and suck? Every year you play it early and suck.
And shout out to Scotto Gallagher, man. He's the realest.
Yeah, that's the true, no pun intended, OG.
Scott OG and Mike Wang too. I like Mike Wang.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mike Wang,
and Scott, if you happen to come across this podcast, I'm actually going to tag you in the next one. If you want to come on the show when NBA 2K releases, the invite is out there.
Yeah, I promise not to ridicule Ronnie 2K that day.
Yeah, I'm definitely in favor for Scott OG to come away. I can't speak for any other devs, but definitely Scott. Scott OG, let me tell you about him. He's one of the few guys that actually came into my direct messages and actually praised some of the stuff I've done on my old channel, and I really appreciate that because some guys are just so sensitive about certain things that I say, but he actually came to me for actually being honest about certain situations. I'm not going to say which is the way, but certain situations. And I will say it goes as far back as me talking about NBA Live 10, NBA Elite 11, even when it comes to talking about some of the current basketball games. And on more than one occasion, he's came to me and actually appreciate some of my commentary. So I can't speak for everybody else. Definitely, he's willing to come on anytime. You know, somebody who I really want to talk to though, I doubt it if he ever talk. I really want to talk to Rex Dixon about this football game. Because nobody's getting, once again, I said this on the last podcast, nobody's giving this guy credit for what is.
Yeah, this is his swan song game.
Yeah.
I think the issue with that would be an embargo.
Yeah, I think that's what it is too, but I really want to talk to him about his footprint on this game because he's the guy that made this game what it is. And I'm not taking nothing away from Clint because Clint is there too. But we know, overall, he was pushing just as much as Clint, but we know that he was a guy that wanted to make things go. And for him to walk out and leave the game the way it is, it just goes to show you that what he really wanted for the idea that he wanted for Madden in general, and I think we're starting to see that now.
I want to get Carlos Guerrero on here to figure out why he can't keep his hands to himself.
Oh, I was about to say, damn.
If you like First and Framerates podcast, you can you hit the like button if you like the First and Framerates podcast. If you really like what we do, hit the subscribe button, and you can always keep up with the podcast and other things that we do on this channel.
And remember, you can look but no touch.
Yeah, definitely.
Window shopping.
Now, I don't even want him to do that. He's a guy. Fuck that. But anyway.
I'm not talking about Carlos Guerrero.
These policies, I'm sorry, these policies these days, I'm like, I just looked at the policy on where I'm heading to. And they're not playing, so...
Sexual harassment is crazy, man. When I started to Sprint, they had like 4 or 5 videos, and they take that stuff really seriously. It's almost like if you fuck up, like you wanted to fuck up.
Right.
No, that stuff is no joke nowadays. That's serious.
So my advice to people who are going to work, new locations, whatever, always read the sexual harassment policy because there's a lot of questions that you will want to ask. Because in the end, a lot of this is not defined by either person A or person B. It could be by person C.
And trust your first decision, because if you think it's something that you shouldn't do or say,
don't do it.
You shouldn't say it. Trust me.
What kind of podcast is turned into? What the hell?
A good one.
Man, you can come here for everything. You can come here for advice on your new job environment. Right. You can come here for advice on whether to buy Madden or not.
It's rich with hosts that know a lot about what goes on in life. So
I can attest to that. That is absolutely true. I really appreciate you guys for that. That's why I picked you guys as hosts, because I know that you guys are very diverse at the end of the day, even though that we do go off the rails at times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got plenty.
No, matter of fact, before we finish, speaking of going off the rails, we got somebody who hasn't come back to this podcast. He got some explaining to do about some plastic.
Oh shit!
He got some serious explaining, and we know y'all know who I'm talking about, and he knows what we're talking about. I'm trying to figure out why is he trying to figure out what plastic tastes like. I'm pretty sure
his explanation is gonna be poo poo, hint hint.
And then at the same time, it's like Why do you think they call them rubbers?
Oh my
I guess
god.
go. Let's go. We're gonna close it out. Like, dislike. If you really like, hit the subscribe button. We'll be here every week. We're probably gonna change date because the NFL season is starting, so we're not gonna upload on a football day. But you never know. We haven't to come to that yet, but that may be an option. So
And make sure you
we're
keep
not
the
gonna.
condoms away from Pooh.
Good day, sir. Y'all have a good day. Y'all take it easy. Peace.
Peace.